Welcome once again to your update from the city of New Hope as we head into the week of August 26th. Time to talk again with the mayor to find out what's new in the city. Welcome, Mayor. How are you today?
Besides being very warm, just fine.
It is a sticky Monday here that we're talking, and maybe some storms coming tonight. So hopefully we don't have to talk about storm cleanup next week. But here we go. A lot to update you on from the city of New Hope. Let's begin in community development. There's a lot of activity happening here. And that house in the park that we've been watching, more progress happening here. Again, remind us where that house is and where are we now in the process?
Well, we have a wonderful planning commission, and these guys are the ones that take anything that we want to change and look at all the ordinances, look at how it fits into our plan, and then they recommend to the council whether or not to approve it or disapprove it. So on this one, they looked at that to rezone it because it's part of the park. And so we will vote on that on the 26th of August, whether or not to rezone it. In the meantime, we've sent out bids to the demolition companies, got about 5 bids back. We'll pick one of those tonight on the 26th to decide who's going to do the demolition on that. Now, this is going to be a little bit strange demolition because the fire department and the police department want to do some training there. So what they'll do is make sure that the water and the sewer and the electrical and the gas are all turned off. Before they do the fire training, they will remove the demolition team will remove any hazardous materials. Mm-hmm. And so then the police department will go into the house and do some training in the house. And then the fire department will actually have a live burn on the 4th of October. And what they tell me with that is they have a lot of small burns inside the house, which aren't very showy, of course. They're inside the house. They're practicing putting out a fire in the kitchen, putting out a fire in the bathroom. They'll be practicing that stuff. And then at the end of the day, after all the stuff is removed that isn't burnable, so any appliances, any of the HVAC systems, wiring that they can't burn, that stuff has all been removed. Then they'll do a live burn, which means they'll actually start the house on fire, have lots of fire trucks there. They tell me you can come and watch this. I don't know about what time they're going to do that, but you can come and watch, but they'll make you stand way back, of course. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And they'll have lots of trucks there to make sure it doesn't get out of control and sparks don't go anywhere they're not supposed to go. So it's really good opportunity for a fire department to do that.
And once again, that house at 3840 Oregon. So we'll keep you up to date on that progress. Now to scattered site housing, a lot happening here. The first house is at 4205 Boone. And as we see in all these houses, the sale process comes pretty quickly. So these houses are sought after, aren't they?
They are. So 4205 is the second house in from Medicine Lake Road, or Bass Lake Road, I'm sorry. And that one, they're just completing up the building of that. They're telling me they're planning to close on the sale of that sometime in the end of August. That's just amazing. The one on the corner is sold, and mm-hmm. There's somebody living in that house already. So it looks like it's in progress, and it is in progress, but these houses have been sold and they're closing on them before they even get them finished.
Great progress there. Let's go to 54th and Virginia, a couple of houses right on that block, and it looks like demolition is the word coming to those houses.
It is. I want to back up just a little bit to 4220 Nevada. Mm-hmm. That's the house that we're looking at a lot split. So it's right behind Super America gas station. It's a house and a garage detached. And so that went to the planning commission, and they looked at all the ordinances and they looked at what the lot split would mean. And they are recommending to us that a lot split would be a good thing. So once that happens, then we'll send out the demolition bids on that one. And we'll see what happens when that comes back. What a lot split means is we're going to put 2 houses on that lot now.
Because some of those lots back in the day were much bigger than they are today as far as lot size. So it makes sense for the city, and I suppose for the builder, it makes lots of sense as well.
It does. So a normal lot in the city of New Hope is 75 feet width. These 2 lots will be about 65 feet mm-hmm. width. Okay. So they'll be just a little bit smaller, but honestly, it won't be noticeable. Most of the house splits or lot splits we've done, like the one on Boone and then again the one on 50th, it didn't make a whole lot of difference that it was 10 feet shorter.
Very good. All right, let's hop up to Virginia now, and let's talk about those 2 homes kind of close together that are going to be ready for demolition soon.
They are. So we got 6 bids on both of those houses for demolition. we're going to look at those bids tonight and award them to the demolition team. So looking at them, they were different numbers, how much it would cost. And I thought, well, they're two houses. They look the same. They should be the same. Well, apparently it means how much hazardous materials inside, how many trees have to be removed, what other stuff has to be removed, do they have to do much grading? And so one house is actually going to cost a little bit more to demolish than the other one. And that's why. So after that happens, we'll award the bids, and then they might even get them torn down yet this year. We're not sure.
Thanks for investigating that difference for us. All right, up to 5692 Boone Place, and another house that looks like it's getting close to closing.
It is. That one's going to close by the end of September. There's a buyer. They've got a lot of work to do yet, but these guys are really good at that. They'll get the lawn in yet this year, and they'll get the trees planted if they haven't got them planted already. And they'll just do all the finishing touches, and we'll have a new resident there by the end of September.
Another house the city was looking at is on Angeline Drive. And tell us about that house and what was decided. And then again, a little bit of that process that goes into picking these houses for scattered site.
Well, we have a matrix, and we have to have a certain return on investment. So on this particular house, when they looked at it, they thought there was too much money was going to be spent on rehabbing the house. And to buy it, we weren't going to be able to get a good return on investment. And so we turned that down. What'll happen now is they'll simply put the house on the market to sell to an outside buyer.
Out of those two houses you mentioned earlier with a lot split over on 50th, how are they coming along in the process?
Oh, they're coming just fine. So the internal one is all sided, and that one, I want to make sure that one is going to be listed on MLS. No, that one already has a buyer, and that's going to close in October.
Mm-hmm.
The other one will be listed on MLS pretty soon. It doesn't look like it's close to that because the roof isn't on yet, but these guys are really good. And once they get closer, they'll list it. A lot of times they'll list it before it's finished because the new buyer sometimes wants their own colors in there. They want their own faucets. So they want things that they want, and the buyer or the builders will let them do that if they buy the house before it's entirely finished. So it's moving right along. There'll be somebody in there probably by the end of the year.
That is great. One more house on 50th to mention. This is at 8024. And again, this is looking towards demolition as well. And a lot of people interested in helping with that process.
Same thing with that one. We got 6 bids on that. Same deal. We'll vote on that on the 26th of August. And then after we vote to accept that, they'll accept the demolition bid. Mm-hmm. Then they'll start the demolition of the process. So we might see something coming down. I don't know if we see anything going up yet this year, though.
Okay. And one final note under community development, they work with the business networking group, and we've been telling you about the upcoming meeting, but didn't quite know the place. Mayor, now we know the place. Tell us more about that upcoming meeting.
Well, that's going to be on the 4th of September, and it's going to be at Pocket Square. That's the dispensary, distillery, I guess it would be, on 42nd Avenue. And it's being hosted by Choice Connections. And so just a nice atmosphere to be in. You can get something to drink if you'd like, whether it's alcoholic or non-alcoholic, and listen to what Choice Connections is.
Very good. All right, let's head to the police department. A couple items here to touch base on. The first one, something that I was not aware has to happen. And this is an inspection of the city jail. So that happens on an annual basis. Is that correct?
It does. I have had a couple tours of the jails. Not that I'm staying in them. I'm just touring them.
Good.
And it just never dawned on me. But they do have to get inspected on a yearly basis. And of course, we pass the inspection as we always do. And so our jails are just nice and clean and ready for occupants, I guess.
All right, let's talk about the chief and some of the extra work that he does outside of the city of New Hope. Tell us about a few of the things he's been involved in recently.
Well, he recently went to an FBI lecture. And, it's just really important that our chief and all of our officers know what's going on. So he did that. He also met with the Hennepin County Chiefs Association. Again, these are just the chiefs in Hennepin County. They get together. They talk about what's going on. Just recently there's been some activities at parks where kids come and take over the parks.
Right.
Well, if we all know exactly what's going on, we can put a stop to that before it actually happens. And how that happens is because of these chief meetings getting together. So that's really exciting that he's going to that. So the other thing is the police academy starts on the 10th of September from 6 to 9. There's a couple spaces left open, but you have to call and make reservations for that. So that's a 7-week class, and it's every Wednesday from 6 to 9. And it's free, and you learn all about the police departments, not only in New Hope, but in Crystal and Robbinsdale. And you have to call in. If you call the non-emergency phone number, they'll tell you how to get registered.
All right, you see that number right there on the screen, so make sure you give them a call. And we were promoting for a couple of weeks a big event coming up on the ice with the police and the fire department. It happened, and you were there. Give us the report. Give us the play-by-play.
It was so fun. These are all of our police officers from Crystal, not all of them, but the hockey players from Crystal and New Hope, and the hockey players and the fire department from Crystal and New Hope. And so they were playing each other very good-heartedly. A lot of time was spent sprawling across the ice, but they did some time on the skates. So the score was 9-5, and I'm not going to tell you who won or lost because I think everybody won on that one. It was just a nice way to get them all together, just having some fun. And the good part about that, it was a fundraiser for Near Food Shelf. So people were bringing in canned goods or stuff that would fit on their pantry shelves, also donating checks and money to that. So that'll all go to Near Food Shelf. And we're really happy that happened. I think there might be some police officers that had a little trouble getting out of bed this morning.
I can imagine that. I can imagine. Well, congratulations to all involved. What a great event and great cause. Let's now go to Public Works, talk about a few things happening there. You've got a few updates related to trees and athletic fields. What's the activity there?
Well, we're still doing the boulevard trimming, the trees trimming that's on our property. That takes up a lot of time. And of course, we're mowing and doing that kind of stuff. This should be about the last week that we have those summer staff with us. So those kids are going back to, those young people are going back to school. We maintain a few of temporary staff, but not many. So that's happening. The other thing that's happening at Public Works is they're getting the athletic fields ready. This is a big time for those tournaments to start on the athletic field. So they're getting that already. And then I went to tour the big building, that new building we're putting up right next to the Public Works building. That's the building that we're going to put all of our big equipment in. And it looks really, really big until you see this big equipment starting to be put in there. So one of the things that it's going to happen on that, there'll be some change orders to the contract. Very often when you build a building like this, you miss something. This should have been a little longer, that should have been a little shorter, we should have put another light in there. So they call those change orders, and we'll be voting on those change orders at the meeting on the 26th. All of that is covered in the contingency that we put into the budget when we get a quote for the building of that, so that things happen, and we know that, and we want to be able to get that done. They certainly will be done by the end of October, they think.
That's right. Beat that snow. Let's move to Park and Recreation, give you an update on some of the things coming up that you might want to get involved in, and also some things that have recently happened. Let's go to the entertainment area in the park and talk about things that have happened. And the first is music, a recent event, and you had a huge crowd.
We did. That was Music in the Park last week. There were 125 people in attendance. That's really nice. And that one's during the day. So that's really nice to have. So we also had another Music in the Park that's going to take place. Actually, two musics in the park that are going to take place this week. One on Wednesdays called the Dollies, and one on Thursdays called the Steel Drum Band. That was a reschedule from a rainout. So both of those will start at 7 o'clock. Of course, they're free. Bring a chair or a blanket to sit on. Let's hope we don't get rained out on those three. Last week, we had the last movie in the park, and that was sponsored by the New Hope Lions. I just want to talk a little bit about the sponsorship of that. We cannot do music in the park or
the movies as well, right?
Thank you. The movies that just went just like that. The movies, unless we have sponsors. So we really do appreciate the people that sponsor that. If you go and there's a sign that said sponsored by, make sure you tell them or go to their business and thank them for doing that, because it really is. That's the only way we can have these in the park. They also get sponsors for the Broadway musical.
Right.
And so if you happen to see one of those, be sure you thank them for that too. So we appreciate that.
And just to mention here at one of those Musics in the Park, At Ease Health and Wellness and Empower You Physical Therapy, a sponsor as well recently. So thanks to that group for helping out there as well. All right, flag football time is coming up quickly here, but still some work to be done. What are they trying to do to get ready for that fun season?
Well, a couple things happen. First, they've got to get all the teams together. They really do kind of separate them by age so the little guys aren't playing with the bigger guys. And then the other thing they have to do is train the coaches. A lot of these are parent coaches, and because of that, they may or may not have ever coached before. So they need a little help and a little training. So lots of stuff going on to get that flag football going.
You picked this next topic out because it's the hottest day of the year to talk about this, just to cool us down a little bit. What's going to help us think cool, Mayor?
Well, that might be the ice arena.
How about the winter recreation guide?
Oh, yeah.
And the ice arena too, I agree.
The winter, well, so they tell me that they're starting to get the vendors who are going to sponsor stuff and the programs all in order, and they get that winter brochure ready. It goes out, and here it is, August, probably the hottest day of the year,
Right.
and they're working on the winter brochure. Just to tell people, it really takes a lot of effort on everybody's part to get that put together and to get that in our mailboxes before winter actually starts. So I'm feeling cool just thinking about it.
Yes, that's nice. And we'll get to the ice arena in just a second. One other thing that happens, and especially here where it's really hot outside, is those weeds start popping up. And again, Park and Rec plays a role in this to make sure there's inspections going on and just keep the city looking nice. Is that correct?
It is. Our city forester actually works in the Park and Rec department. That's why it's there. And so they're looking, when people call or tell us through the survey that there's weeds next door, we go out and look, and if there is, we give them a notice that says they have to cut them or they have to mow their lawn. And if they don't, they'll get a citation for that. And they still have to mow their lawn, but now they get to pay money to do it too. So, if you get a citation that says, or a notice that says, please remove those weeds or mow your lawn, please do that. We really don't want to fine you to get it done. We just want you to get it done.
Another event that is coming up here this fall is something that people in New Hope know very well in other communities. It has been called Donut Make You Wonder, but it's going to change its name. Tell us about that name change. And again, what fun happens at these events? Well,
it's going to be changed to Community Connections. And I don't know why they're doing that. I like Donut Make You Wonder. I knew what that was. So when you look in your fall brochure, it might be under Community Connections. You should look for that. So this happens on the second Wednesday of every month, starting in September, and it'll be at Crystal Community Center from 10 to 11:30. I think it's $3 or $5, and you get a donut and a cup of coffee, and usually an hour and a half of really an interesting topic and a lecture on some topic. So look in your brochure and sign up.
Yeah.
It helps if you sign up, but if you didn't remember to do that, they'll let you come anyway.
Yeah, great activity there. All right, let's go to the golf course. You see the picture of the course behind the mayor there. Some activity happening around the course by someone you might not expect to see at the course. This is an Eagle Scout. What are they up to?
Well, the Eagle Scouts have to do a project to get their Eagle Scout badge or award. And they usually come to the golf course and looking for something to do. So one of our former Eagle Scouts is repairing a lot of the wood deck houses around the pond and putting in some new one. And they're also fixing the bridge across on the fourth tee. So they do a lot of stuff around there. Those little things you see that are being done, they've been done by an Eagle Scout.
And we've been talking about the use of the course, especially that picnic and grilling area by a number of groups, and it sounds like a couple of groups are out enjoying themselves just recently.
Well, that seems to be a real popular place.
Yes.
So there's a group called the Joseph Family. They had a golf and a picnic there last Sunday or Saturday. And then the Armstrong Boys Hockey Boosters had a picnic there. And on Monday, on this hot day, somebody rented that, and they're going to have an outing in there from noon noon to 2. So it gets used a lot.
Well, maybe after their golf outing, they'll have to go over to the ice arena, cool off a little bit. And there's a lot of activity happening there, so they can cool off and maybe watch some activity. What's going on at the ice arena as we're about 100 degrees?
To go over there and just watch somebody practice or just play doesn't cost anything. And it is really chilly.
Mhm.
I was there and had to put on a jacket. It was cold in there. It was a lovely reprieve from the heat, though.
Mhm.
So what they're doing over there at the ice arena, they had the showcase tournament, summer finale just last week, the Attitude golf tending camp, the high performance hockey players, the all-star hockey players, and they rented it to 10 groups that come in and play. So just show up, and if nothing else, show up and get cooled off.
That's right. Very nice. All right. Last stop here in Park and Rec is at the aquatic park. And that again is closed for the season, but they still have some work to be done. And this might be of interest to you. Some work to be done with some of the leftover things still in boxes, Mayor?
Well, the note that I have is they're returning. I have to read this so I get this right. They're returning unused concession items. I don't think that means a half-eaten box of weenies or
Mhm.
or one popsicle. I think it's full cases of things that they didn't use, and they can get those back to the vendor and then get a refund for that. And so in the meantime, they're cleaning the concession area out. That all has to be sanitized and cleaned out really good. And then the bathhouse gets cleaned out really good and then gets sanitized too. They still have water in the pool. They'll have that for a little while yet. They have to do some stuff with the chemicals and make sure that that's all clean. And then they'll pull that plug, and I don't know where that water goes. Down the Mississippi, I hope.
Out it goes and resting up till the next season. Let's go to finance for just a second here in our update this week with the mayor of New Hope. And we want to talk about recognition of this department and some of the fine work they're doing. And I understand this is something that thankfully has happened on a pretty regular basis.
Pretty regular basis. I'm going to read this so I don't get it wrong. So we have a recognition of excellence in finance reporting, and this comes from the county. It's a commitment to full disclosure and effective communication of financial performance. So in other words, what they're saying is we do a good job of telling our residents everything they need to know about finance. We're really open about it. If you have a question, call one of us, call your council member, call me, call the city. We'll give you an answer. We'll tell you who to call to get that answer from. We think it's important. It's your money. We think it's important that you know where it's coming from and how it's spent.
Well, congratulations to the finance staff people. A couple final notes as we end our update today. And the first is be watching your mailbox here in September because something is coming out. What is that?
Well, maybe a year ago, we decided that we would put out one publication every 2 months called In Touch, and that will come to every addressed mailbox. If you happen not to get one for whatever reason, call City Hall, and you can go in City Hall and get one, or they'll make sure that you get one somehow. They'll either mail it, somehow get it to you. There's a lot of good information in there. When I talked about the recycle event, or I will talk about the recycle event, there's some information in that In Touch about that. So lots of good information on what's coming in, so you could keep in touch.
All right, be watching for that. Another way that the city gets some feedback from residents is through the city services survey. Still time to get that survey in, correct?
Correct. That we have till the October 1st, but October 1st comes pretty quick sometimes. We've had 400 people already respond to that. And it's a very quick survey to take. At the end of that, there's a space for you to put in what you may have a concern about, or if you think we did something good, you might want to comment on that. Either way, that gets passed on to the appropriate group, and then they'll call you back if you have a concern. They'll call you and see if they can alleviate that concern. If it's just thank you very much, they'll also go back to the department so they know that you appreciate something that they've done. So you have until the 1st of October. You can go into City Hall and pick up a paper copy. You can go online and do it. You can go into City Hall and do it online there too if you really need to.
Very good. Final note to pass along is that building event that you mentioned. And this is the first I've heard about here in this area. There's a building event that involves you bringing some of that leftover stuff in your basement and garage to put it to good use. How does this work?
Well, the Hennepin Recycling Group, and we'll have the website on the bottom of the page there. The Hennepin Recycling Group is the one that are doing this. And what they're saying is if you have some excess building materials, so you built something and you've got a 2x4 left over and you're not using it, you can donate it to this building materials reuse event. And that's on September 14th from 9 till 12. And it's at 8300 Noble in Brooklyn Park. And there's a group called Future Minnesota. And what they do is they take this stuff, if they're rebuilding a house, some like Habitat for Humanity, they might be able to use it on that. So that piece of plywood you don't know what to do with, that 2x4 you don't, they'll take nails and screws, but they have to be in boxes, that they can't just have it come in a jar, nothing that's rusty. You can go onto the website and it'll tell you what they will accept and what they won't. So it's a good way to get rid of some of that stuff that you've been kind of tripping over for a while in the backyard.
You bet. Neat idea for an event. Well, Mayor, thank you so much again for the update. A lot going on, as you see, in the city of New Hope. And if we didn't catch it or you want to read more, newhopemn.gov is the place to go. And stick with us. Here's a look at some other events that are coming up in the New Hope community. Mayor, thanks for your time. Stay cool, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks, Dave. See you then. Bye-bye.
Learn more about The Connection at ccxmedia.org and follow us on social media.